Hi, my name's Steven, and I'm really passionate about brewing beer. So, I've always liked beer and drinking beer. I think a lot of people do. And I used to think that I knew a lot about beer, but it turns out I didn't really know that much until I started brewing my own beer. Um, I had a friend who was giving up the hobby of brewing beer, and he was selling all of his equipment. So I decided to buy his equipment from him and try brewing my own beer. And once I started doing this, it became really, really interesting hobby, and I learned so much more about the process of making beer. Um, it was a really, really exciting thing for me when I first started doing it. Um, I live in Korea, and in Korea, there's actually not a lot of options for craft beer. So I really wanted to drink more delicious beer. So that was my solution, was starting to brew the beer myself. So I learned all about the process. Making beer requires basically four ingredients. It needs water and uh, grains like barley. It needs hops, which are kind of it's like a flour, but it adds bitterness to the beer, and it needs yeast. And yeast is what ferments the beer. It changes the sugar into alcohol. Um, Once I started this hobby, I realized just how many different styles of beer there are and how many different ways of making those beer styles there are. So it's been a very important hobby for me for the past maybe 3 or 4 years now, and I think it's probably going to be a lifelong hobby for me. I will continue to do this for my whole life. Anyways, that's all about me and my hobby of making and drinking beer. Bye.